Hello, happy quarantine. I was inspired to make this video because of seeing a lot of music teacher posts on Facebook and YouTube where other teachers were exchanging resources. I thought it'd possibly be helpful to add to that discussion and share some things I have found to be helpful in my own practice. For a little bit of background, I'm in my first year of teaching and I teach exclusively 4th grade violin. So I have 75 wonderful kiddos that all play the violin. I see all of them not at the same time, but at different points in the day. The unique aspect of this situation is that all of my kids use school instruments, which means that they do not have their instrument while they're at home. It's wonderful that, they're using school instruments and it eliminates any sort of access issues out, so all kids that want to play can play, but now the issue is that they don't have their instrument at home, so coming up with content that would be relevant is kind of the trick. I've basically had to rewrite everything that I had planned for the remainder of the year in the event that we're out until the end of the year. I'm unable to do what I originally had planned because the source of the curriculum they no longer have. So the trick, like I said, is finding resources that don't require the need to play, but also will be relevant for them next year should they continue playing an orchestra. Okay, so the first resource I would like to go over is using the Teoria website. So I'm going to show basically what that entails and how I like to use it. So this is the website. Basically what it does is it has several different exercises and activities that you can do to practice various aspects of music. So for example, what I usually do with my kids, I take them to exercises and then I take them to reading. This is what we do first with them because they are 4th grade and they are kind of figuring all this out, for the first time. So what I've been doing is clef reading. So this is a way that they can practice in real time, being able to read different notes on the staff, and it's randomized every time. So you can change your settings around like you would like. Today, for example, I did spaces and lines, and I did use accidentals. Some of my kids play the violin, they're using treble clef. So then you hit OK. And essentially how they use it is, this is kind of a lot to look at first. So they have to figure out first the letter, and then if it's sharp, flat, or natural. So this first one is C. It's natural, so they'll just click C. Then this next one is also C, but there's a flat next to it. So they would go to C, and then click the little flat symbol under. And that is something that I use that they particularly like. You can have them set like 5 minutes, 5 exercises, etc. And then at the end, it tells them how they did. They can do like key signatures and be tested on that. They can also do like different type of like jazz chords and modulations and other things. They can do dictation, so this would be a good thing for older students to practice like dictation and being able to write things down, intervals, etc. So that's one thing. This is more of a teaching practice, but something else that I've been doing in addition to Teoria is usually when I am teaching live, because I have to teach live through Google Hangout, I will review just general note labeling things as a class, but then I also go over how to replicate it on their instrument. So for example, I'll share my screen and I'll put a couple of notes on like the screen and I'll ask different students to label what note it is, but then I'll also ask another student to tell me how to replicate it on their instrument. So for example, if they have middle C, how would they replicate that on their instrument? So I ask the student, okay, so-and-so, can you tell me what note that is? They'll label it, and they'll say, okay, like, how do you replicate that on your instrument? So the correct answer would be that you take 3 fingers and you put it down on the G string, and that would create middle C. So that way it's like they're not just labeling notes, but they're also connecting it to what they would physically need to do in order to replicate that note on their instrument. So that way, in hopes that when we get back to school, whenever that is, that they will be able to retain a little bit of that, and the transition back to normal learning is a little bit easier because they haven't, even though they spent so much time away from their instrument, we were able to reinforce those skills remotely. I also like to do brain pop with my kids. This allows them to be able to learn more in depth about different eras or significant events in music, and it's at an age-appropriate level. So for example, we did Motown a couple weeks ago, and in the Motown lesson, a large part of it was related to the Civil Rights Movement. So that video for Brain Pop, because they have a video for every subject, was really in-depth and detailed and went a lot into the subject, and it was interesting and age-appropriate. So that's why I particularly like BrainPop, and it's really, really good to use. So those are some resources that I've been using. I hope they were helpful. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.